So I'm Canadian, and I did my bachelor's studies in life science, which would be kind of like biomedical science in other countries. And I got introduced to a laboratory of Doug Munoz in Canada, and he studied sensory motor neuroscience. And it was really fascinating to me. So I was fascinated with the topic of sensory motor neuroscience. I thought about different careers at the time. I thought about being an optometrist, a neurologist, you know, the standard things you'd think of when you learn about the brain and vision, and you're excited about them both. But I discovered that I really liked research, and I joined the lab and then eventually did a PhD where I looked at sensory motor eye movement control in neurological disorders. And I really enjoyed my time there. And I knew that, you know, I really liked, as much as research, I liked universities as an environment. I liked the creativity, and I liked how they were working towards research and goals that can help society and so on. I also really enjoyed how the culture was at Queen's and in the lab. And we had many different types of scientists working together. And we also had structural support, such as lab managers and programmers and statisticians. And it was a great environment of different people working together towards more common topics and common goals. And that was something that I assumed would be the way most research would be run, and it fit with the way I would want to run research myself. Makes sense. So then I did a postdoc at UC Berkeley with Mark Desposito, doing more focus on neuroimaging, so fMRI related to eye movements and sensory motor control. And I really enjoyed my time there. It's a bit different being a postdoc because I was much more into my own project, less teaching and so on. But I still liked the idea of eventually being a professor because I was always interested more in a lab and having a team of people working together towards some common goal. And of course, you know, a postdoc is a necessary part of the training. And then I came to the Netherlands, to the Donders, because the Donders is very well known in topics related to sensory motor neuroscience, Parkinson's disease research, and the neurological disorders I've been studying, as well as, of course, neuroimaging and fMRI. And scientifically, I knew it was a great environment. And also, they'd advertised this position called senior researcher, which was a novel type of position that didn't exist in North America, but it really fit with my vision for an academic environment. So what it is recognizing that within the whole system of a university, from professors down to bachelor students, there would be different types of people at different levels of function. So the senior research position was designed to say, in a large lab where there are many students and postdocs, of course, unified around some general topic, it is a lot of work for the senior professor to be in charge of that, plus teaching, plus supervising all these students. And at the same time, before we hand the keys to a person who's straight out of their postdoc and say, now you're a manager, now you're running a lab, we can build a kind of a layer in between. So it's a great idea, right? And it fit with my kind of attitude towards research, right? So I come in as really an assistant to a more senior professor, doing my own research line, doing some of the teaching, contributing to some of the organization of the institute, while also getting experience in supervising my own students and so on, right? And so that's the other reason why I came. And it's quite a nice idea for a position that is quite not common in academia, but I think fills a necessary place.
For the people that are more familiar with the normal structure,
correct,
being like, okay, you do a bachelor, then you do your master, then you do a PhD, then you do a postdoc, then you do assistant professor, then you do associate professor, correct, then you're a full professor, and then at some point you retire.
Correct.
But where in this progression is the senior researcher position?
It would overlap with that of an assistant professor.
I see.
However, it's not tenured track, so the design is not for it to directly lead to your own research line. The design is that it can, right? So you can then re-enter the tenure track system by reapplying.
I see.
But it gives you more experience, and it gives you the type of experience that you probably wouldn't have got in a postdoc.
Oh, for
One
sure.
that's more about supervision and more about contribution to a larger group of people, as opposed to trying to, as soon as possible, be by yourself doing your own idea.
Right.
So that is where it fit. Yeah.
Okay. All right. No, I've heard about that position before, but only in the Netherlands, I have to say. Yeah. I have not seen that anywhere else.
Well, I think it's a good idea. It might reflect a bit of the culture of the Netherlands. But it is something. So from my perspective, if you were to think outside of the academic system, I mean, someone who's not in academia, many jobs have hierarchies, of course, and there's positions that enter you into other positions. But in most companies or most organizations, you're trying to find a fit for a task or something that needs to be done, right?
Right.
So it's it breaks from saying that there's an academic model of these positions that you just described, and this is the way we do research, to start to say, well, hang on a second. Sometimes research might need more supervisors. Sometimes research might need a dedicated lab engineer. Sometimes research might need, people looking after finance and management or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it was more of a position related to a need within the research system.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, you mentioned now companies and that they try to find the right person for a specific task when that task, performing that task becomes necessary.
Right.
But I would say even when that happens, the person that gets hired still gets training for quite some time to be able to do that task or perform it very well.
Well, we hope they do.
We hope.
Yeah.
And I've not seen that often in academia at all. It's just like you go through these ranks, but I've never seen, for example, somebody that for example, when I did my postdoc, nobody sat me down and said, okay, this is now what you need to focus on.
Yeah.
Or these are now other things that you didn't have to deal with during your PhD that you now should think about. Didn't happen at all. It was just more of a, deal with it when it comes up type of scenario.
Yes, I agree. It is a standard thing. And I think so. Then partway through my senior researcher position, I realized that as much as I liked the position and the way the Donders had created such a position, it was not enough, right? They created something that still is not recognized in the entire academic system, and wasn't truly addressing the need like you're describing. So that's why I went and did an executive MBA program. One of the reasons was to address this type of problem, right? So I still believe that research, even if it's basic science, and even if it's to be creative as possible, should think more in terms of the necessary structure, the necessary culture, and the necessary organizational elements to make the research successful. So yes, it is really good to have creative ideas and independent thinkers, but that need not be the only mechanism. So the idea of saying, this is the way research is done, it is done by you in this position that we've invented called a postdoc. And in this postdoc position, you have to teach yourself all the tasks, and then you leave after 3 years. That is merely a system, but it's not built with an organizational thought. It's not built with saying, in order to do successful research, we need temporary postdocs who figure out everything on their own. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was one of the drivers for me to go do an MBA, not just about business, but about understanding management and organizations, and just the attitude of, if this is our mission, then how are we aligned to getting towards this mission? And that mission can be applied research, but that mission could also be creative basic research. But it's the thought process of what are the necessary elements in order to make this good.